Coming up on StarTalk Special Edition, we're going to analyze the physics of that unstoppable play we've seen in the NFL called the tush push. Be there. Welcome to StarTalk, your place in the universe where science and pop culture collide. StarTalk begins right now. This is StarTalk Special Edition. Neil deGrasse Tyson here, your personal astrophysicist. And with all special editions, of course, we've got Gary.
Hey.
Gary O'Reilly,
Hey, Neil.
former soccer pro.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, football pro in the UK.
That'll do.
Turned announcer.
Mm-hmm.
Is that where ex-players go?
Sometimes you either go into coaching, which is a vocation and
Okay.
is a 28-hour-a-day job,
Oh,
or you end up behind a mic and hope you don't talk more gibberish than the other guy.
just a little less gibberish.
Yeah.
All right, we're always delighted to have you here. Chuck, how you doing, man?
All right, man.
All right.
Chuck, nice.
How's the comedy thing going?
I got to tell you, like comedy should, awful.
Sorry I asked. Okay. So, Gary, what'd you put together for today?
All right, so you recently turned your gaze to illuminate terrestrial physics that exists in plain sight. So it's until you...
Because terrestrial, that's just Earth.
Yeah, it is.
Terra,
Mm-hmm.
that's like the Latin word for Earth.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
terra, and we have a word for the moon, too. It's called luna.
Mm-hmm.
And a word for the sun is called sol.
There you go. So...
Oh, nice.
No, S-O-L, Chuck.
Right.
Not soul.
Not soul.
All right.
All right.
And so in doing this sort of illumination of terrestrial physics, you come up, a bit later in the show, you'll get to it, a cosmic comparison. So keep an eye out for that one. And that got me thinking, where have we seen the laws of physics? Plenty of times, the laws of physics used in many ways to gain success, to beat an opponent, to deliver something. But how
Especially in an athletic
Right,
contest.
exactly. So, but how often do we see the same laws of physics used to overcome the previous use of the laws of physics?
Okay. A cleverer invocation, perhaps.
Yeah, and to sort of
Physics battle.
exactly.
Yeah.
So to bring this to life for this show, we go back to a StarTalk show you recorded in 2011 with a couple of the New York Giants.
I remember that.
Yeah, and then
They were in this office.
They were.
There was no room for any. There's three of them. There's no
I
room
know.
for anybody else.
Big guys.
Yes.
And then we throw it forward to an interview you did with NFL Media last month or so of 2023 for the Tush Push. And you'll see how people were thinking back in 2011 and how they've thought about using laws of physics
Okay.
here in the
Dug
present day.
Dug these clips up. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's-
So let's play the first clip.
There's no greater display of terrestrial physics than a game of football.
No kidding.
Oh, yeah.
Why is that?
Well, I mean, there's kinetic energy, there's potential energy, there's inertia. The only things you learn about in the first few weeks of mechanics in a physics class, there it is in football. And you see things like if a little person runs into a big person,
It happens all the time.
or the big person runs into the little person.
Yes.
These are not equal outcomes
uh-huh.
here. So you get to learn. And I always wondered, do the coaches, do the players, are they thinking about physics? Because if they did, you could become a better player and even a better team.
So true.
Once you open that avenue of thought, you don't unsee those things. You find them appear to you time and time again in a game of football.
The world looks different when you're physics literate.
Yeah. And
Look
so
at that.
That's a bumper sticker.
That's it.
Right
That
there.
is a bumper sticker.
Yeah.
Right next to my kid's an honor student.
No, my favorite bumper sticker is my kid beat up your honor student. You ever see that one?
I have seen that. That's pretty cool.
oh dear, bumper sticker envy.
All right.
But no, so if you think like that,
Yeah.
but then you put that thought process in a coach's mind, you're going to start seeing them apply certain aspects of the laws of physics.
I don't see why they wouldn't. Yeah.
Right. Now, what if the players themselves have already thought through this process, but then you amplify the whole thing by making them NFL grade, Super Bowl winning players? So this is us going back now to 2011 when you sit down with three of the New York Giants, Jonathan Goff, Chase Blackburn, and Travis Beckham. Now, Chase Blackburn is the owner of 2 Super Bowl rings. And you'll love
He
this.
didn't win them. He just owns them. He bought them on eBay.
No, you'll like this because they beat the Patriots.
Yes, they
so
did.
that's you going to be happy. Now, they're both linebackers, Jonathan Goff and Chase Blackburn, and let's listen to how they see tackling.
Well, just remind me, they, in college, each of them majored in like engineering or math or physics, right?
Yeah, so one's major in maths, the other is a mechanical engineer.
Yeah, I love it. So they have the geek underbelly
Nice.
that you would not otherwise know or even think to ask
I love it.
when you see them on TV, knocking folks out.
But this is why I wanted to play this clip. So
Okay,
once
go
you
for it.
realize, then we're going to pick up something that you've
Okay.
been saying more recently. So play the clip and we'll pick up on the back.
Do you actually invoke laws of physics you learn in your engineering class to become a better linebacker?
Could say, yeah, but it's actually something that you learn as a young football player, and that's the low man wins.
Low man wins. I've heard that.
Leverage.
And so you want to come in at what point in the person's body?
You want your hat under their hat.
Oh, okay. Well, you call them hats.
Yes.
How polite. Well, my cap, yes. Okay, so you want your cap, your helmet under their helmet. What does that then do for you?
It gives you better leverage and puts you in a better position. So if you're a smaller guy, it puts you in a better position to control the blocker.
And so it helps if you can crouch a little lower than others can.
Yes.
So why aren't people just slithering along the ground to get to the people's ankles to get as low as humanly possible?
You
Get
can't.
some power.
Oh, you start losing
Yeah.
power when you get
Yeah.
real low. So it's whatever's the best combination
Right.
of how low you get, yet
Yeah.
still get to use your
Leg
leg
strength.
strength.
Yeah, right.
With the speed coming down, you obviously you meet force to force when you come out.
That's where it all comes from. A lot of people think that it's your upper body. It's really your legs and what you have underneath them.
So Jonathan, tell me about leg power. If you're going to block someone, the most obvious thing you're using is your upper body. So how do the legs play out?
Your legs and your hips. Those are the most important things. But that's where you generate all of your power, all of your momentum. That it gets started, with your legs. You don't need to have phenomenal bench press to be able to deliver those big hits or to create separation between yourself and a blocker. It all starts with your legs, and if you can get good acceleration with your legs going, then everything else comes.
So throw it forward now to
The
Philadelphia Eagles.
right, which if you're from Philly, is the brotherly shove, not the tush push.
All right, so let's get to the next clip because what you've heard those NFL players from the New York Giants discuss,
In 2011,
yes, now has new meaning and resonance in the current game because they've looked at what they knew and how they got the right to the point where they even realize I can be too low and lose the energy and the power I need to execute. Now you get to sit down with Kyle Brandt from NFL Media. And
Good Morning Football. We should give him a shout out.
all right,
That's the show. It's a great
Morning
show.
Football. So there you are. Shout out done. Cold, too cold.
That was the most
Too cold.
dismissive shout out I have ever heard.
Too cold.
Good Morning Football. Shout out done.
that's the most affection a Brit can show. So we got to accept that one. All right.
All right. So you sit down with Carl from Good Morning Football, and you get into the science of the tush push or brotherly shove. Now we're going to get into why it's called that and not the other. So play the next clip, and then we'll go from there.
Well, this is interesting because we're seeing this in the NFL. The Eagles will come up to the ball. Everybody knows what they're doing. They've spent all week practicing against it, and they can't stop it. You live life with people going around asking you questions about everything in the universe. I'm asking you today, can we figure out a way to stop the Eagles at the goal line?
You're talking about the tush push.
Well, it's glad you mentioned that. Let's set the table with this. Do you prefer tush push or brotherly shove?
So I don't know how many people outside of Philadelphia know that Philadelphia is the city of brotherly love.
Interesting.
They all know it.
Yes.
And then there's a sort of fall off factor as the distance increases. Go to someone in Utah.
Yep.
Philadelphia, the city of
I don't know.
crime. I don't know what they're going to say.
Loudmouth fans, cheesesteaks.
Cheesesteak. Okay. So the brotherly shove,
Yeah.
of course, is a more G-rated version
Sure.
of it. But I don't know how widely known or embraced that can be, since it's a very local
So smart.
comment. But the tush push that is so quaint and so and you get it all completely done within 2 syllables. Brevity matters.
Is wit.
Okay.
That's what they say.
And I'm sorry my letter to you was so long. I ran out of time to make it short.
All right. Who is that quote?
Several people have been credited with
All
that
right.
quote.
Yeah.
That's a good one. So, what do you feel? 'Cause
Well, first of all, let me just say that I really appreciate all the love that you guys were showing to Philly, the city of crime and obesity and
excess cheesesteak consumption.
No, but that makes sense. I mean, Philly's not necessarily known as the city of brotherly love in every part of the world. So tush push, you know exactly what you're talking about.
Everybody knows what
Everybody knows what that is. If you follow football.
But Gary, you were brilliant in your edits here, because I did not remember from 2011 how much of that conversation presaged. Is that a right word?
Well, I don't even know.
It's out there now.
Let me tell you
Presaged. So that it's the foundational physics to what is going on in a tush push. They described it one-on-one,
Mhm.
but now when you band together an entire front line, oh my gosh, you have an unstoppable plow.
Right. And the whole idea behind the tush push is when you see them, the Eagles' front line, they're lower than the defense.
Yes,
that's the whole thing. They're
Yes, they
just
are.
lower than the defense.
Right. But that's just the beginning.
That's the beginning. Yeah.
But you have to have the thought process in place. And then you're looking at it, as you said, in a one-to-one tackle. Then you're saying, well, in a certain situation, that one-to-one aspect doesn't generally end up in guaranteed success. This now puts it in a situation where it does. So you're taking the thinking and you're amplifying it in terms of the numbers. Obviously, the distance isn't that great, but you're not needing to go that far. You just need that, as you said, to have the mechanics in place to make it happen. Now,
in fact, in most of the replays of tush pushes I've seen, where they had to get 1 yard, 2 yards, at the end of the play, the ball's 5 yards farther down.
Yeah.
Right. It's a
Boy,
plow.
those were the days.
oh,
Before their
is anyone else
epic-
welling up?
Before their epic debacle.
Oh, you're talking about the Eagles.
The Eagles.
Yeah. They were like headed for the Super Bowl.
Best league and best record in football for a minute.
For a minute, yeah.
And then the worst record in football.
I'm Nicholas Costella, and I'm a proud supporter of StarTalk on Patreon. This is StarTalk with Neil deGrasse Tyson.
So the next clip is fascinating. You take the tush push and you make a cosmic comparison, which I would say is out of this world, but you wouldn't. So let's listen to the tape. We'll pick it up.
Just because I
on the
think I
other
had better sentence composition.
Well, I headed a soccer ball too many times. Leave me alone.
Before they changed the head rules in soccer.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, go.
Okay, let's play the tape. We'll pick up on the other side.
If I can get cosmic on you just for a minute.
Please do.
Yeah. There's certain phenomena in the universe that once they pass a tipping point, there is no stopping it. Okay? One of them is when a star manufactures elements in its core. This is the thermonuclear fusion that builds elements from hydrogen right up to iron. When it gets to iron, it can't generate energy anymore. And in that moment, the entire star collapses and nothing can stop it. Okay? And it gets down to a tiny little ball and then it recoils in a titanic explosion we call a supernova. That is an inevitable consequence of that scenario. And you know another one? If it has much more mass than that star, on the collapse, an explosion won't even happen because the gravity wins and it becomes, guess what? A black hole. For a certain amount of mass, a black hole is inevitable, an inevitable consequence of that scenario. This was demonstrated mathematically. A Nobel Prize was given for that demonstration. And what I'm telling you now is when I think of these phenomena in the universe, when they hit a tipping point and they just go, and there's nothing the rest of the universe can say or do about it. When the Eagles line up in the tush-push configuration, 2 men behind the quarterback, one ready for each butt cheek, just hang it up. Just say, all right. It's like in baseball. They stop throwing 4 pitches for the walk, all right? For the intentional walk. They just go do this and they walk. Just do it.
It's faster.
It's faster. It's faster. So Eagles, here, you got the 6 points.
Take it.
Take it.
Take the 6.
Just 6, and let's move on.
So if we continue this thinking about the mass of a star, and I'm going to go out on a limb here and say Taylor Swift is probably the biggest star on the planet. During the halftime entertainment, if she has a meltdown, are we going to get a supernova? Or are we going to get some other cosmic occurrence?
I mean, if the Chiefs are behind at halftime,
maybe.
Whatever she's doing, the cameras will catch it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And Fox News will have a supernova.
But is it to this point now where if we've evolved how we use the laws of physics to achieve tush-push, and you're now looking at it and going, no stopping this, are we not looking at it in the right way to overcome this?
So here's what I would say. Eagles were, I think, the number was 95%.
95%.
Effective.
Yes.
Other teams, not so much.
Right.
Okay? This is my analysis of what I've seen. That other teams saw what the Eagles were doing, but didn't understand the physics of it. So they just kind of imitated the look of the tush-push, but not the physics of it. And as a result, they could not execute it as effectively as the Eagles had.
In the words of Eagles coach Nick Sirianni, if other teams could do it,
they would.
They would.
Ooh,
that's what he said. Like, don't, because they were talking about whether or not they should remove it from football altogether.
Right.
And he was like, let's be honest, if other teams could do it, they would.
So Kyle asked me, he said, should the NFL ban the move, ban the play? And I said, what? Why are they thinking? Because it's so effective for one team?
Isn't this the nature of sport where if you devise a way to overcome an opponent, someone then has to find the kryptonite for that?
And Kyle asked me, do I know of a counter to this move? And my answer was no. I cannot think of one. If it's properly executed, where all the physics is happening the way intended, I don't see.
So if teams were smart, what they would do is find video of that 5%, and then study that 5%, study the hell out of it, and then try to mimic whatever that 5% was, whatever those defenses were doing where it didn't work at that point, try to make that the way you handle the tush push.
I would say it's not, I haven't seen the 5%, but right. I would guess that in those 5%, the Eagles didn't do it right.
Execute properly.
Correct.
Right.
Rather than the other team.
Of overcoming the actual mechanics of the tush.
So basically user error.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I couldn't hear the cogs in Neil's brain turning there, but they were. They definitely were.
It's called an IO error, incompetent operator. Yes.
Okay.
Ooh. I like that. Yeah. Except when I'm flying.
We've tiptoed around the edges a little bit, but now let's and we've kind of worked out that it's going to be called the tush push. And we've worked out also, through listening, it's unstoppable, more or less. But we need to know the science. And I think if you listen carefully, you'll be able to hear Carl Brandt's head exploding right at the end. Play the tape.
So, Neil, this is Super Bowl 57,
yeah.
Eagles, Chiefs on the goal line. What's happening here?
Yeah, so what's happening is the Eagles are about to lay down a moving carpet, a moving carpet for the quarterback.
Okay.
So they're getting as low as possible. Now, the Chiefs know that. Look at the guy right there. His helmet's the lowest helmet there. Mm-hmm. But the Eagles, if you just pause for a moment right here, just pause. The Eagles have the advantage because they're hiking. And no one on the Chiefs can move until after the Eagles move. Mm-hmm. And so the Eagles get like a quarter second head start in momentum transfer. Okay? So the Eagles are already in motion, and look how low the helmets are. They're ready to lay down a carpet. That entire front line is attached to Earth, and they're pressing against Earth the entire time. Even though they're flattened, even because there's other big players on top of them, you can take a look. Watch what happens. Okay? So just watch the Eagles' legs. They are constantly moving.
Yes.
And you see turf getting kicked up. Okay? They are using Earth as a launch point for their movement. Not a launch point, because that implies they would lead, as a traction point for everything they're about to do. In fact, if you run the math on this, every time the Eagle runs this play, it slightly changes the rotation of the Earth.
Tell me more. Tell me more. Are you kidding me?
I'm just telling you.
Tell me more. Don't leave it at that.
Okay.
They're changing the Earth.
One of Newton's laws
Yes.
is for every action is an equal and opposite
Reaction.
You cannot just propel yourself forward unless something comes out the other side. That's why rockets, there's always rocket exhaust coming out the other side.
Yes.
Because then the rocket goes this way, the exhaust goes this way, the rocket goes that way. As they are digging into the Earth, Earth is responding to them by having its rotation rate changed because they're bracing themselves against the rotating Earth. We don't think about it that way, but that's exactly what's happening here. That's where they get the traction.
We think about it that way now. That just blew my mind.
So you went and blew this guy's head off his shoulders, which is fine because that was necessary. He needed to understand what is going on. But if you...
But I have to, just to be clear, what I don't think made it into their final edit for NFL production is you can calculate how much the rotation of the Earth changes, but you're not going to measure it. It's too small. Plus, the other team is also pushing against you in the exact opposite direction. So a lot of that momentum gets canceled. But the one that wins, the ones that actually do successfully move forward, they're the ones that have successfully changed Earth's rotation. I don't want to say in their own favor, but they're the ones with the bigger effect on Earth's rotation than the ones who lost that encounter at the goal line stand.
For me, as a former professional athlete, I'm always looking at advantage. Where can I get it? How can I get it? Is it train harder? Is it put more muscle on? Is it cheap? Is it how am I looking at how this pans out? And you said something interesting. The Eagles have that advantage because they're hiking. Now, for me, anyone who's defending their end zone from a play like this from a yard out can only kind of get to compete if they've got quicker reflexes. Now, is that even possible for that to happen? Because if they go too soon, they're offside.
For you, that would the more apt comparison would be what's a kick where it's just the goalie and the
penalty kick.
Yeah. So in that circumstance, the goalie is really just have to guess where the guy's going to kick.
Oh no! See, the thing is, the goalkeepers in the soccer in the football, our football with the round ball, they will study the penalty takers.
Right.
They will now look at whether that player is right or left-footed.
Right.
They will know that. They will know that the predisposition for a right-footed player is to go to the goalkeeper's right, the kicker's left. They'll have all of this information, but then the tricky stuff starts.
Right.
Then the tush-push isn't so much a tricky play.
No, I'm just talking about this one part of it, which is, and you'll hear defensive players in the NFL talk about this, even on regular snap counts, is timing. Yes. You try to time their snap. And one of the things the Eagles started doing this year is varying the snap because they realized that other teams were starting to telegraph. So what they would do is they would do their normal count and then they would wait 2 beats and then snap. And so
possibly draw them offside.
Possibly draw them and get the penalty, and then you don't even need the tush push.
If it's for a first down.
If it's for a first down.
Otherwise, just halfway to the goal line.
Right.
The other thing is, if you're drawing a defensive lineman...
Aren't you proud of me for how much football I know?
I'm like
just
right on.
Just as an astrophysicist.
You're just not. It's not just. It's not that. Not that you needed bigging up. But so if you can draw a lineman forward, you're changing the center of gravity, and the weight is in, so you can't then move as easily. If you can then move it laterally.
But so this little advantage that you're trying to find, like with the penalty kick, half of that's first a basis of knowledge of the behavior of that kicker, but also there's a little bit of a mind game going on. Right. In the tush push, that's not a mind game.
No.
It does not require the mind. Right. But if you're the defenders, like you said, if I can anticipate the hike, then I can move exactly on the hike.
Right.
And then you don't get that fraction of a second advantage.
Right. But that only works if everyone in unison.
If everyone does that.
Right. Yeah. Right. And the chances of that happening are a lot less.
0, I would say.
Yeah.
That's how much less
All right,
it is.
So we're kind of getting to the point now why it works. And
yes, because Earth is if you're not attached to the Earth, you're just a floating object.
I think all right, the next clip you're going to expand.
Oh, I get that.
Yeah,
okay.
We're going to get. So why it works, here's you talking again to Kyle Brandt from NFL Media, who has had his head exploded, as we've discussed, and you've pieced him back together again, and you carried on your conversation.
Here's why this works.
Yes.
Okay. So the urge is to say, because the quarterback is going to go over the backs of his players.
Sure.
And you got one player on each side ready to push on a butt cheek.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
Hence the tush push. All right. Here's what's going on. I'm on the opposing team, and you've just laid down people plowing into me. I want to jump over you because the quarterback is ready to come over. So I jump over you, and you know what happens if you jump over? You're no longer connected to the earth.
So that's a disadvantage.
Yes! If you're not connected to the earth, you've got nothing to press against.
So these guys try all the time to jump over the top. They should not do that?
I'm saying, watch what happens if you leave the seed number 22. Watch what happens to him. Boom! He jumps thinking that matters. He wasn't connected to the earth, so the biggest force he can apply is his body weight. But if you're connected to the earth, these guys can bench press, whatever, deadlift, okay? When you're bench pressing and deadlift, you're attached to the earth when you're doing this, okay? So if someone is floating over the top, you can just swat them out of the way if you're connected to the earth. Let's look at 22 again. Okay. He thinks he's got this. Boom, boom. Look at that.
He gets blasted.
It gets blasted back.
Yes.
He's completely ineffective because all of these guys can easily just push him when he is airborne.
Yeah, that's the funniest thing when you look at this play, and that's so great, is when the guys try to go up over the top, they end up crowd surfing.
But they're just sort of floating there.
And they're getting pushed back and just laying on top of other guys.
They got nothing.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, but you've got these extremely powerful and explosive athletes, but as soon as they lose the connection to Earth,
all they have is their body weight.
Yeah.
And the body weight of any football player is push-awayable by the strength of any other football player.
Right.
It's not something.
It's basically a bench press, right? So if I see you coming over, you're 250 pounds, and I'm attached to the earth, I just press you out of the way, and there's nothing you can do about it.
All I need to do if you're airborne is just deflect you.
That as well.
Yeah.
Provided you're attached to the earth.
Yeah.
Right.
And deflection is easier than completely stopping their momentum.
Exactly.
So
the quarterback has 2 players pushing him.
Right.
And if they can each bench press 300 pounds, that's 600 pounds of force directed, and you're airborne on the other side. You ain't got nothing. What's this? He could squat? What is it?
600 pounds is what they say he can squat.
Okay. So my boy's got some quads on him.
He's got some quads on him.
Okay.
So when they first start pushing, and they're all connected to the ground.
All 3 of them. Each butt cheek pusher plus the quarterback. You got some good force there.
That's a lot of force.
But at some point, he's got to leave the ground.
He's got to leave the ground.
And then none of that matters.
Right.
And all that matters is how much can the other 2 guys.
Exactly.
At that moment, he's crowd surfing.
Yes.
Yes, but he's controlled.
But crowd surfing with somebody behind him pushing. Yeah.
So this, for those listeners who are familiar with the sport of rugby, is straight out of rugby playbook. So you have a scrum and you have a maul and a ruck, and they will drive.
Speak English, please.
That is the terminology of rugby.
Yeah.
I didn't make this
And that
not
is
word
why,
salad.
That is why nobody plays rugby.
Oh, they're every bit as big
Nobody
as the
wants to
football
be in a
guys.
scrum. Nobody wants to get mauled, and nobody wants a ruck.
And it all
Whatever the
happens.
hell those
Whatever
three
a
things-
ruck is.
So what they do is they push the very same way, connected to the ground, and they move the ball along, but with feet. They just sort of just tap it. And they can accrue distance by doing that. I mean, not talking a 30, 40 yard.
So it's a human plow,
Yeah, it's a human plow until the ball pops out of it for some reason.
And
which I never understood.
I never understood that either.
And the ball pops out, and they're all still there.
And they're all still in the huddle, crowd, scrum, whatever.
because the ball comes out of the scrum to the
yeah,
back.
Wait, some magic force pulls it out of the
Yeah,
scrum?
how does the ball get out of the scrum? Does somebody hike it out of the scrum like football?
No, they use the force.
Not a force, the force.
The force. This is not the ball you're looking for. So you have a certain player who reaches in timely because and grabs it, and then
And
they
pulls
field it
and
out
hikes
to the
it out.
backs,
The
and then the backs are the
laterals
ones
it.
that do the run. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's okay. So
Rugby playbook here.
yeah, that's where this move is kind of like originated from. All right, so we now get to our next clip, which is Kyle Brandt, as we said, from the NFL, asking you what you would do if Kansas City Chiefs head coach Andy Reid came knocking on your door asking for a solution. Take a listen.
How do we stop it? What would be your advice? Get more players on the field?
Build a wall.
Build a wall? Park the bus in front of it? Oh, great.
This may be a literal unstoppable force, which have always been used figuratively.
Yes.
Unstoppable force, immovable object.
Yes.
Okay. This is a moving reference frame. And by the way, while the guys are plowing here,
Yes.
because you see, I mean, it's very impressive. These are big guys.
Yeah.
Big guys. And
Oh,
you
yeah.
see these leg muscles just churning through. And the evidence of that was all the turf getting kicked up. They're not going fast, right? They're going slow, but the force is huge. And so, and look at, they knew what the choose love. Oh, I love that.
Beautiful message. Thank you, Dallas Goddard.
After we just smothered.
Choose love.
Choose love. So look at the guy who's lowest here, who's on the Kansas City. See him right there?
Yeah, he's right on
Okay,
the
so
ball.
he knows what's about to happen. So, but again, he doesn't get first jumps. The Eagles get first jumps. So he's really low and is basically not relevant because everyone is on top of him, still plowing forward. And he shows up at the end, he emerges out on the other side. So watch this happen. Okay?
Here's the snap.
There's the snap. See, there's a delay. There's like a half-second delay.
Right.
And so now that guy, his head will show up, connected to his body, of course, somewhere. We'll see him. Where is he? And this is 54 getting taken out.
54 is out, 22 is out.
Yeah. And as we plow, we reveal the head. There he is.
That's Frank Clark. Oh my gosh.
So he said, well, let me get in there first. And the moving carpet
Yes.
for the
The
Eagles just went right over him. His head pops out, but the entire reference frame was in motion. So the reference frame, speaking of physics, the reference frame is if you move with something that is in motion, then you can reinterpret everything that's happening around you, right? So I'll give an example. You ever been on a freeway and there are a couple of cars that are chasing each other and they just whiz right by you? You've seen this happen. It's very dangerous, but it's actually less dangerous than it looks because all the rest of you are doing 55 miles an hour. They're doing 80 miles an hour, okay? So as far as they're concerned, you are standing still and they're driving 25 miles an hour around you.
Tell that to the police.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
So if you have the moving reference frame of all the traffic, they're actually only going slightly faster than you as though you were standing still as they maneuver in and around the open spots between your cars. Right, it wouldn't work in the court of law, but that's what's actually happening there. So if you have a moving reference frame, I'm referring to this plow, this moving carpet.
Right.
If the camera just follows it, you just see things like the guy who tried to go the other way, his head emerges on the other side, and by the time they unpeel the pile, the ball's 5 yards beyond the target.
See, we can't go around the outside.
No.
It's too much
You don't have time.
You don't, exactly. Going over the top, you get swatted away.
Mm-hmm.
It is the irresistible force. It is this thing that you can't stop. So, okay, it's like any science project has to end in a conclusion. Right?
The conclusion is we're going to build a wall, and the Eagles are going to pay for it. Philadelphia, paying for the wall. Very important. It's going to be a big, beautiful, beautiful wall.
So, we'll discuss colorways for this wall as and when.
That's the Trump defense.
Yeah. So, you look at this and you say, okay, so we can't do anything about it. And you said just earlier on, the NFL were thinking of maybe banning it. But that goes against the spirit of the game.
Completely. I think it would be shortchanging fans who go to see excellence in whatever form it manifests.
Also, it's a lot of fun if you're not an Eagles fan to see whether or not your team is going to be the one to stop it.
And then that's the headline the next day.
There you go.
Yeah. But just because you see excellence, are we going to say Michael Phelps with his 8 gold medals, we have to ban him from the Olympics because he's winning too much?
He is part dolphin. So, cheater.
It's mixed mammals. So, no, I look at it and I think, let it happen. Because we've had the earlier discussion from the guys who are the New York Giants about how they saw it as an individual. We're now analyzing a whole offensive line, working in unison, applying the laws of physics, but
working organically together.
But knowing that any defensive line they face is going to go low, they end up going above it and then driving them even lower. So they're on the ground, so therefore they lose a lot of their energy.
If you're completely flattened, then you can't push against the earth.
Exactly.
So you have to maintain enough distance between your torso and the ground so that you can lift your knees up and press against the earth and push. Right. So you can't just go flat.
Nope. Right. But yet then you're being driven down. So therefore you're taking away that ability to drive with your legs. It's just the use of the laws of physics in a higher way to negate people using laws of physics to try and stop you.
Yeah, I just think Chuck has the answer. You just have to build a wall.
There you go.
And make the Eagles pay for it.
Well, that's basically it then.
Well, I think we've solved this problem.
We have. We just need a bricklayer. Yeah.
Tush push. So what's our vote here? Tush push or brotherly shove?
You know, I came in with brotherly shove, but I don't.
As a Philadelphia native,
but I'm okay with tush push outside of Philly.
I'm with Chuck. I think if you're from Philly, you call it whatever you like. If it's from outside of Philly and you want to call it tush push, I think that resonates and is short and sweet, as it were.
So yeah, I'm all in, and it's been a while since we had a new play invented. So.
Yeah, that's not a trick play.
And it's not a trick play. And I'm trying to, I wondered, what was the first day in baseball someone bunted the ball?
Wow.
That would have been wow.
I'm sure all the other players were like, what did he just do? Well, what do we do? Like, hey man, go get the ball.
Yeah, I know. Is it legal? Right. Well, hit the bat. Right, like things, another one that would have been the alley-oop in basketball.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? You throw the ball.
What kind of shot was that? Oh my God, did that other guy just stuff it into the rim?
Right. The guy grabbed it before it touched anything. Isn't there a traveling call? No.
It's just a pass.
It's just a pass. And so the invention of a new move.
Damn alley-oop. That's what we get for letting these black guys in the game.
So we done here?
We done.
We done.
We done.
Chuck, we done?
We're all pushed out.
Pushed out. All right. This has been another installment of StarTalk Special Edition. All about the tush push. Chuck, Gary, always good to have you.
Pleasure.
Neil deGrasse Tyson here, as always. Keep looking up.